So Luke Skywalker, right, wanted to defeat the evil empire. And Macbeth, do any of you know your Shakespeare, Macbeth? Maybe one. Macbeth wanted to be king of Denmark, right? And Laurie Coons, which many of you may never heard of, right? She was a seamstress, and she wanted to open her own business. And what's interesting about those three people I just rattled off, right, those men and women, they all had a through line in their life. Both of them, Macbeth, Luke Skywalker, and Laurie Coons. And the through line is very simple. It's an acting principle. You know, when you're playing a character and on a stage like this, you know your character and you know your short-term objectives in life and your super objective, right? And they all go in line and you go after what you want. It's a through line. And I don't know if you caught the words like want to be king, want to defeat the evil empire, want to own her own business. It's a verb. It's a want, right? It's something you and I want. And if you would oblige me, if you don't mind, take out your phone or a piece of pen and paper. We got a 20-second writing exercise. Everyone in this room can create their through line. So if you would, take out a pen and paper. I promise you it'll be 20 seconds, we'll be done. But whatever's on your sheet of paper will be your through line. Okay, before I start the prompt, I'm going to give you 20 seconds. And if you would, let's talk professionally speaking. If you're a student, what do you want to accomplish in the next 1 to 3 years? And if you're an adult, what do you want to accomplish professionally speaking the next 1 to 3 years? If you can write down your 3 short-term goals. Make it simple, professionally speaking. If you can't think of any, leave it blank. And begin. 20 seconds. What are the 3 things you want to accomplish the next 1 to 3 years? Your goals. Go ahead, stop. Underneath that, if you would, write down your 1 super objective. What's the 1 thing you want to accomplish the next 5 to 7 years, professionally speaking? Begin. 1, your super objective. What's your goal you want to accomplish? And stop. If you would, stop, look up here. So everyone in this auditorium, in some way, shape, or fashion, you just created your through line in life. And let me explain that in more detail. So I think there's 2 lines. There's a broken line and there's a solid line. A broken line is very simple. You and I know many men and women, right, and high school students, young adults and adults, right, probably have never taken the time to really define what do they want short-term, what do they want long-term, right? So it's undefined. You just defined it right now. And number 2, I think what also breaks many men and women and young adults through line in life is fear. How many people do you and I know, right, who are scared to go after those short-term objectives you and I wrote down? Who are scared, right, to go after that super objective you and I just wrote down? Fear, right? We focus more on the fear than the objective. So I think that breaks a lot of people's lines in life. And then if you contrast that, right, to a solid through line in life, and, you know, my wife is here. We own an acting studio in Columbus, so I'll just give you mine as an example. We define our short-term objectives very simple. We want to increase the locations, increase instructors, and increase market share. And our super objective that you guys just wrote down is impact. We hope to have impact, right? And I know you heard this word early in the talks. We hope to have impact on the men, women, kids, teens, boys, and girls, right, who come through our studio. That's our super objective. But go deeper, if you would, and think about what you just wrote down a few minutes ago. I think men and women who have solid through line in their lives, a couple great things come from it. Number 1, they get direction and purpose. When you and I know what we want, right, and it's on your sheet of paper, and you're going after your through line in life, it gives you direction, right? All your energies and activities and everything is going toward that super objective, right? And number 2, and this is where I get passionate, most importantly, that super objective, my friends, that's where your dreams are. That's where your passions are. If you could define that super objective in 10 seconds, and I'm sorry I didn't give you more time, but if you could define it, that super objective, I promise you, that's your dreams, your passions, that's what inspires you, like Macbeth to be king. Laurie Coons, right, to to sow. That's your energy source. And it's so powerful because I think especially as we get older, right? We get knocked off our line, the line gets broken, or we lose the super objective in our life, the purpose. And as I close out my talk, I was actually on a stage like this. It's kind of interesting. One of my students, he was a doctor at Ohio State. He took my acting class, and he comes in, and he does the 8-week course, and he finishes the class. And he's all done, and I see him back in the wings, very similar to here, similar stage, similar format. And I'm back in the wings, and he comes off, and he kind of corners me. He looks at me, and he goes, Chad, I had it all wrong. This is a doctor at Ohio State, right? I'm saying, what are you talking about? He goes, I took an acting class thinking it was for fun. It was make-believe. He goes, I thought that was pretend, and when I'm a doctor, right, that's the real world. He goes, complete opposite. He goes, when I'm on stage, I can cry, I can yell, I can be pissed off, I can be any emotion I want. But when I'm a doctor, I got to pretend like I care all day. I hope he's not watching this clip. But if you take a step further, and I mean this, what that doctor at Ohio State taught me, it wasn't about this, we are all on the stage of life. I do believe that, as Mr. Shakespeare said, right? But what he taught me goes much deeper when I was in the wings listening to him. What he taught me is that many of us, right, and you just wrote down your super objective, you just created your through line, and I have my own. Many of us may not be doing our super objective, but we could be like that doctor. He's still practicing, but on the weekends, right, he still gets involved in films. He's producing. He's still acting. It's still his energy source. And just because you may not be on your line right now doesn't mean it can't change or someday you can't tap into it. That's very important because you and I know a lot of men and women will probably never create a through line or be on it. And the last thing this through line, again, comes from the world of acting, is about. It's very simple. In the world of acting, when you're playing these characters, right, these Macbeth and Lady Macbeth and Shakespeare and all these, you know the word the acting coaches use is outcomes. Outcomes. When you know what you want and you go after it and all your energy and focus is toward it, you can create incredible outcomes. And think about these three people. Luke Skywalker defeated the evil empire. Macbeth became king. He killed a lot of people. That's a side note, right? But he became king. And most importantly, Lori Coons, outside Chicago in a small city, opened her own quilting company. And you and I will probably never hear her name, right? She'll never be famous. She's never going to be a millionaire. But the greatest thing about Lori is she discovered her super objective. And she's doing what she loves. She's tapping into her passion. She's living the life she wants to live. And to me, Lori Coons, Macbeth, or Luke Skywalker are all on the same page. They created a line, they knew what they wanted, and they went after it. And how many men and women do you and I know who are on broken lines, undefined lines, right? They just get up, they go to work, they come home, they don't have the purpose, they don't have the drive, they don't have the dream because it's undefined. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.